What's up, guys? Welcome to week number 2 of off-season training. Feeling a lot better this week now that I, 1, got my voice back, kind of lost that most of last week, and 2, I no longer feel like I got hit by a semi-truck since I'm starting to get used to the higher volume of training that I'm working with. Maybe hit by like a full-size pickup, but definitely not a full semi this time. So some of the soreness is starting to go away, or at least it's back to like normal level of soreness. I don't feel as terrible as last week. And things are starting to move. So didn't film a whole lot on this bench day here. There's still nothing all that exciting going on. I added a 4th working set to the Duffalo bar Larsen presses, and then pushed close grips up to that top set of 255. So still doing 5x5s on those. I'm going to go up to 5 working sets with the Duffalo bar this week, and then we'll probably drop the reps down to 8s and start to work with a little bit heavier weights there. So moving on to the squat and deadlift session. This is Monday's workout that you're seeing here. I was having a little bit of an issue in through my left glute. Just felt tight and took a while to get it warmed up. So I'm going to do some soft tissue work and keep paying attention to that. But overall, you can see that these are moving a lot faster than last week. Speed's there, tightness out of the hole is there, and was able to finish all 5 of the working sets in just 14 minutes. So still going to force myself to keep this same weight for probably another 2 workouts before I try to add any weight to it. I want to see if I can get that time down a little bit further, and then also just have another 2 weeks to keep dialing in my squat groove. Since I did kind of cue things a little bit differently on this day, albeit not intentionally, you should be able to see here that what I'm kind of doing is actually trying to almost cue my knees a little bit forward and sink more straight down instead of sitting back into my hips quite as far. Although the difference is very subtle, I can definitely feel a difference in the amount of pop that I get out of the bottom, and also just the amount of tightness that I can maintain down there as well. So if you look at the positioning, I believe, on this set with my torso relative to how some of my squats normally look with how leaned over I am, just a simple fact of pushing my knees forward just a little bit, as counterintuitive as that may seem, definitely seems to make a difference for me. So I want another 2 weeks with pretty lightweight just to get a good feel for that, kind of dial that in, and then I'll start to push things up again, although probably still with the same emphasis of moving weight as quickly as possible. We'll just get into something in the 300, just over 300 pounds. It doesn't have to be heavy, but I don't want it to keep being under 300 because I think it's probably a little bit light for me to be working at. So you should see that come up in weight in a couple of weeks. But for now, that brings us to the block pulls. This is my top working set of 4 reps. I'm using a kind of middle position of block from what I've usually used in the past. I've either done a shorter block or I did something just below the kneecaps. This is right in the middle. I think it's like 6 mats. And this is a shit position. This is the worst block pull position that I've ever worked with, which means I need to stay there. So I'll be working with that same height for another couple weeks, see if I can get that up into the 550-ish range as well. So we're also adding some strongman conditioning work on this day as well. So here is a top set of yoke walks. This is 510 for about 100 feet. We did, I think, 4 or 5 sets of these, and just kind of added weight each time. Trying to drop a little bit of weight over the next couple weeks and months here as well. So going to be adding in some strongman work after the Monday session as kind of accessory, and then some sled pushing probably on Fridays and possibly again on Saturdays. So still keeping cardio in on my other main off days, but gonna start to switch to more higher intensity, just better, more legitimate cardio, not just walking. So I'm not going to probably film a whole bunch of sled pushing, but just know that it's happening, and hopefully the sexy factor moves on as well. So hit my upper accessory day, nothing exciting there except for 225 strict overhead press. Haven't attempted to do that in a while, so cool. Which brings us to this day, which is the Thursday secondary squat and deadlift day. And I don't know what I ate beforehand, but on the first set there, pretty much felt like I was gonna shit my pants. And so I did not end up pushing for sets of 8 on this day just because I did not feel comfortable. I could keep my insides inside. So instead of going a set of 5 and 2 sets of 8, I ended up doing something like 5, 4, 5, 5, and then finished off the reps with a triple at the end, just so I could still hit the volume that I wanted to hit at this session. So note to self, don't try and eat teriyaki an hour, just barely over an hour before you lift. I kind of know better, but that's just how things timed out. And next week, this should hopefully be 3 sets of 8, so we will see on that. The squats themselves moved fine. It was mostly just making sure I kept my blood hole intact. So, so yeah. So there's that. I've lived through that in the past, so just not trying to recreate it. Anyways, brings us to the lighter speed and technique pulls. Just bumped up to 335 this week. Kept it at 15 sets of 1. I'll probably go up to something like 350 or 365 next week just so I can start working with a little bit more weight on these. And I'll keep it probably around 12 reps, something like that. About halfway through these sets, I kind of figured out a new lat cue. It's not necessarily a way to cue tightness from the bottom, but what I'm focusing on is once I break the bar off the floor and get towards right around the knees, I've actually found a way to kind of flex my lats to bring the bar to my hips to the lockout. So it's almost like I'm locking out from the top and from the bottom. It's really hard to explain. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing when I do it, but I figured out how to do it, and it makes the lockout feel really short and solid. That's probably the best example of it right there. And it's a lot less thinking than what I was trying to do with how I was wedging before. So I'm gonna have to play around with this. It's definitely new. It's more of pulling the slack and then wedging as I come up to kind of pry the hips under the bar, but I'm doing it from the lats themselves. So I don't think had my lats not been sore from I did some back work after my overhead pressing the day before this. I don't think if my lats hadn't been sore like they were that I would have figured this out, but you can definitely see it cleans up the pull. So I'm gonna have to keep kind of playing around with this and then see if I can see what I can do with it. But it's definitely something that I want to keep experimenting with because it feels different, and it feels different in a better way. So we will see. Might have had a breakthrough, maybe we didn't, I don't know. But this was definitely a good enough way to redeem myself from almost shitting on Shad. So with that, we're going to call it a training week. If you haven't done so already, be sure to connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. Check out the gym's website, savagegym.com, and I will talk to you next week.